I don't know. It's hard to put a label on my generation because I think that we're all pretty diverse.
I would call it the hip-hop generation.
I think the realist generation.
Call them the numb heads.
A bunch of burnouts.
Most of them are just kind of sit back, relax type generation, I guess. Watch the world go by.
We are becoming the couch potato generation.
Our generation really doesn't have a name. It doesn't have we have no direction.
Can you tell me where we're going to?
The generation label I'd give to mine is lost, and it's going to get lost.
Is that it, the nowhere generation? I feel like I'm somewhere. I don't feel like I'm nowhere.
If I was being idealistic, I'd like to call our generation like the awareness generation.
I think we're planet warriors.
Be a real positive generation, you know, make a difference.
I think it's the generation of hope.
I don't think you can truly label our generation. We are the 20-something generation. That's even a coined term. We're the young adults of right now.
Right here, right now. There is no other place I want to be.
You've heard all the media handles for the new crop of young Americans now in their early 20s, and you've read all the stories attempting to explain them. There are now more than 22 million of these people between the ages of 21 and 25. We've traveled across the country talking to many of them, and over the course of the next hour, you'll hear them explain themselves. These people are the vanguard of a new generation, and as you'll see, they are very different from the baby boomers who preceded them. These young Americans grew up with a feel-good president, a Wall Street boom, and an economy that's bottomed out just as they're ready to become a part of it. They're also the children of a communications explosion that's had a profound effect on how they process information about the world around them.
I think MTV and a lot of the other forces like that are teaching us to think shorter and shorter and shorter term, and to take information really quickly, not really think it out a whole lot, but to take it in.
It's the negative way of saying that our generation has a shorter attention span as opposed to its sophisticated watching of television. What we also have is a healthy sense of cynicism and skepticism.
I'm not going to try.
The ability to read lying speech, which is what most of television is. It's propaganda of one kind or another.
You can trust me. Nevertheless, in many ways, the members of this new generation are united by television, too. In fact, by the time they turned 21, these people had logged nearly 23,000 hours in front of the tube, their earliest window on the world.
Oh, I'll never forget it when we landed on the moon. And I was watching TV, and I was 4 years old, and I ran into the kitchen and said, "Mom, we're on the moon! I can't believe it!"
I was born in a house with a television always on.
The earliest national event I remember is Watergate. I remember watching hours and hours of that on TV. That's one time when the TV was brought down from the attic and we were allowed to watch.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
The shooting of President Reagan, that would be the one thing that would pop to my head first.
I know it's true.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
Oh, so true. 'Cause I saw it on TV.
The Challenger explosion, this was something that everybody my age witnessed before their very eyes. It was almost a visible symbol of the state of our nation kind of going up and exploding in flames. This is the kind of future that we look at sometimes.
I was a TV-aholic. I watched everything from Good Times,
Dang, oh man!
Jefferson's to Gilligan's Island.
Skipper, oh Skipper, oh Skipper!
I watch them today. They're hilarious.
I love humor because we had enough controversy day to day.
Come on, get happy!
Partridge Family.
All the Family.
Happy Days.
Thank you very much.
Sanford and Son.
Starsky and Hutch.
Charlie's Angels. Morning, Angels.
I am a TV savage.
David Carradine, Kung Fu. It's like a daily lesson, a daily teaching, you know.
When I was a kid, I liked watching $6 Million Man. That guy would just like all of a sudden just be turboing, and I was like stoked on that.
I remember a show called Julia, the nurse show, and I always thought, I want to be Julia when I grow up. I didn't want the husband, I just wanted just what she had. She had a kid, and she was a nurse. She was very successful living on her own. But grew out of that phase, I think, pretty quickly.
For a generation devastated by skyrocketing divorce statistics, an estimated 40% of them come from broken homes, it's perhaps not surprising that the most universally beloved TV show among the people we talk to should turn out to be that much syndicated model of domestic contentment, the Brady Bunch.
I think a lot of kids identified with the Brady Bunch because there were all these kids their age, and it was like, sort of this glam house, this like 70s house with a big stairway.
The one thing I love about the Brady Bunch is that the guy had a den.
He did. That's right. He did.
Like a lion.
Our house didn't have a den.
And like cute, perky mom.
What did Mrs. Brady do? She didn't have a job. She just went shopping, that's just weird.
They would recreate little spats that a lot of people had in their own houses.
No real problems that the family could not work out within the space of a 30-minute episode.
I apologize, Captain Bly.
Okay, capital G Goofa.
The Brady Bunch kind of amazed me as how kids never got yelled at and they never did anything wrong. They were just a perfect family. And you kind of wonder, I wonder where that family is now.
There was more to these people's lives than TV, of course. We'll find out how much more and where they stand today on such subjects as work, money, family, and careers when we return. Today's young adults are entering a world very unlike the one their baby boom predecessors faced, mainly because there's a lot less money floating around. A college education is more important than ever, if only because graduates are likely to earn 4 times more than people without a degree. But college is more expensive than ever, too, and student loans are tight. To make ends meet, more and more young people, many of them working to pay their way through school, are continuing to live at home with their parents. In fact, 75% of young men aged 18 to 24 still live at home, the highest percentage since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And for those not going on to college, these recessionary times may turn out to be even tougher. According to the New York Times, 1.5 million jobs have disappeared in this country in just the past year. To find out what life is like for these young people, we spoke to some ambitious high-tech workers at an electronics trade show in Chicago, the members of a struggling funk rock band in Boston, and a young married couple trying to get by in the fading factory town of Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Kenosha has always been known as an auto town. Whenever anyone in the area thought of Kenosha, it was for automobile manufacturing, which started here in 1902. The company that became the Nash Company and then American Motors, so we were known for making the Pacers and the Gremlins and all of those automobiles. And then Chrysler purchased AMC and eventually shut down most of their operations here.
You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so you can fly away? You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.
I had a few family members working there, and I mean, when they closed down, they were making good money there, and when they closed down, they don't have nothing else to do because that was a major factory in Kenosha. It was AMC, and when it closed down, everything went, and there was nothing left. There still ain't.
My name is Jeffrey Campbell. I've lived in Kenosha the majority of my life, and I'm 23 years old. I want to work on a full-time basis in construction. That's what my main goal is right now. But I have nothing long-term, no. Not at the hand. I mean, if I can get a nice hourly wage job, a steady pay, and everything else, I would jump right on it.
My name is Dawn Kamholtz, and I've lived in Kenosha all my life. I like to do stuff, but it's just hard when you got 2 kids. I mean, one's 2 and one's 1. You can't do very much when you got 2 little ones. When I was younger, I got everything, and now that I'm married and everything, it's like, what happened, and it's just, I don't want Samantha and my kids to grow up thinking they're going to have everything handed to them, because that's not the way it is, and I've realized that.
Oh yeah, they say life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone.
I realize that it's very easy for me to stand up here and wish you well and tell you to give it all you've got. It's the doing that's tough. But that's the only way any of us will prosper. That's why the theme of this show is Yes, You Can.
There's a lot of young people that come to this convention because of the nature of the industry. It's consumer electronics. It's the hip, the high-tech stuff, the cutting edge. Hello?
When I saw the ad in the newspaper that said, do you want to play games for a living? Of course, I jumped on that. And here I am playing games for a living for Nintendo.
I was really into electronics. I like to take things apart and tinker with them, you know. It's mainly the reason I got into it is because of the tinkering.
I'm working for Canon as the gorilla. I'm a working actor in Chicago, and I have to be positive. I know I get what I'm right for. I know I don't get what I'm not right for, and that's the deal. I get upset over it.
We play everything.
Favorite games?
Our favorite games.
Yes. My name is Ruby Barclay. I'm 25. I was born in the Philippines and moved to the U.S. Just for college. I'm part of the team, the PR team for Nintendo. I work for Hill & Knowlton. We're the agency for Nintendo. Sweet transition. Work is very important to me. It really measures your sense of self-esteem and your self-worth. If you do something well, there's something to be proud of.
Oh, my trip story.
I think it's at least 3/4 of what people were put on this earth for. To do work and to do it well and to enjoy doing it.
So you should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of myself.
So, you struggle with a job that means nothing to you but money. The world about you is in turmoil, but yet you exist in a happy cocoon.
Let's go.
Who are these beautiful angels? It's Chuckle!
There are two different kinds of people in the world, pimps and whores. And you're either a pimp or a whore. And when you work that day job and you're in someone else's corporation and you're towing the company line, you're basically their whore. But when you're an entrepreneur and you set up your own business and you do your thing, you are your own pimp, and that is the way to go.
Chucklehead is about 8 guys doing what they want to do and how they want to do it. It's about self-control. We were doing it ourselves, and we were going up to Boston to be employed, not by, I don't know, Data General or IBM, but by Chucklehead. Did you guys get guitar stands? Chucklehead is into running their own business, and that is as important to us as the music, and fun, too.
Was it advertised as a $2 admission even for the general public?
No, for the general public it's $6.
We've always said, we've made it when this is what we do for a living. If I'm playing a gig every Friday and Saturday night and it's my only job, I've made it.
Need money.
I do have to have a day job in order to pay the rent, and I work at an insurance agency.
This is my abode.
It's hard going to work. It's a real drag. I have a nice job. I work with friendly people. But it is really hard to play a gig on a Friday night and then a gig on Saturday night and be a king.
I might sing like Peter Brady, but I like Marsha.
And then go into work on Monday morning and be a pawn.
Do you need 2 copies of that?
That's a hard thing to do. The question we have to keep asking ourselves is, are we having fun? If you're not doing something important and if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?
My parents think making it is having a ton of money in the bank. And they could have no social life. They wouldn't care. But young people nowadays need that well-balanced, rounded perspective.
Oh, almost had a collision there.
America's funniest videos. I think we're a little more relaxed than our parents were. At home, pretty much the way we really stress is goofing off, you know. We don't have the money really to do everything, so, you know, the 4-wheeling or fishing or something like that. This is what the majority of the people our ages are doing these days. Are just coming out, bring their vehicles, play out here in the mud.
We're on the road.
most about cars is power, what they can and can't do. I think it makes me feel like I can do just about anything out in the woods.
I think playing video games makes you feel like you're in control over technology. And that's real exciting to people, and it's fun.
Every stage in Mario World is roughly the same with different obstacles.
You can go as fast or as slow as you want. You can go pretty much anywhere you want as long as you don't get stuck.
Of course, you don't want to get squashed by these large masses of sand that are coming down through the earth.
I won't go down. Oh boy, I'm sliding right into them.
Uh-oh, that's squished. I got to run under that one. Game over. We're on a road to nowhere.
If life had three big challenges, one of them is having a career and also having a relationship. What a woman. And both require an emotional commitment and a logistical commitment. And you're always trying to balance them together.
There was a rumor that the production crew was interested in a chocolate version of the Brady Bunch.
I need to get in here for a second.
Every day, I would say a third to half of the strife and conflict that I feel is trying to figure out how I'm going to do both a career and a relationship, because time is limited.
I would certainly hope that within a few years I'm married. That's real important to me. I want to have a balance between career and family. I couldn't imagine going through my life without a husband or children.
I got the bills, I got the kids, I got the husband. I mean, not many girls my age have all this responsibility that I have. 99% of the friends I know, their parents are divorced. Very rarely they stay together. I've seen the mistakes my parents made, and he's seen the mistakes his parents made. And I don't want my kids to be brought up with some other guy or with some other, I want them to be with their parents together.
This is a story of a man called Brady.
My parents are not married. Of my friends, maybe 40% have parents that are not married. That's affected me ever since. I think it would be a long monologue about how that's affected me, but that's a big shakeup.
I think that our generation has seen so much divorce in their childhood and while they were growing up that, like myself, I do not want that ever to happen to me, and I would make darn sure that it didn't.
We're not happy all the time together, but we want to make it work for the kids and us, I mean, it's going on 4 years, and it's been okay so far.
The new generation of young Americans is faced with some hard choices about work and careers and the quality of their lives. In the absence of pat answers, making these choices may require, more than anything else, simple courage.
In music, people always say to a soloist, you seem so timid. Why are you playing so timidly? And the soloist will say, I don't want to make any mistakes. And the teacher will say, play loud and make a big, ugly mistake. And that's how you should live your life. You should be loud and boisterous and do whatever you want and make big, ugly mistakes and learn big, ugly lessons from them.
I don't know, that sounds a little tame. Let's kick it in.
I definitely think that we live a lot in the past. Definitely. I see it all the time, and I wonder what's going to come next, what's going to happen next, because every year it seems like we go back to another decade.
It's the time of the season for loving.
All right, how's it going?
I think that the 60s have come back in style very much, and I think it's kind of a good thing because we've never experienced the 60s since we weren't here for the 60s. I was born in '68.
I like the style, the music is good, the dressing, colors, loud, peace, no war, especially.
They got, a lot of stuff done. They smoked pot, they had great music at that time too. I love the music from that time. It was really cool.
I kind of wish I could bleep right back into that time for a couple weeks and then cruise back here and use the energy they had there and make it happen here, kind of. I like that. It's cool.
Practically from the time they were born, today's young adults have lived in the giant shadow of the psychedelic 60s. Dig! The 60s are now history, but the baby boom generation continues to celebrate itself and its own long-gone youth through such media as classic rock radio, TV shows such as The Wonder Years, and myth-mongering movies such as The Doors. What do today's young adults make of this oppressive and incessant nostalgia for a past they never lived? To find out, we visited a young man who's attempting to fight it in that capital of retro consciousness, Los Angeles.
When one is swamped with old, familiar pop culture that's become old and boring, yet it's still the only thing available, it serves to stifle the creativity of the people who grow up surrounded by it. They don't know what's new. They don't hear voices of their own generation like the previous generation did. And that's what people need when they're young. They need to hear what other young people think. They need to hear what's new and happening now around them.
Right here, right now.
Well, my name's John Kenny. I'm 25 years old and co-founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Time. We call that NAFTAT for short. We thought that this generation needed a voice, and so we formed it as a form of protest because we were tired of living in the 60s. We were tired of always hearing old music. We were tired of always seeing old reports on the 60s glorifying the era and stuff. And we thought, let's have a voice for people our age. This was 2 years ago, summer of '89. Everybody was getting geared up for the 20th anniversary of Woodstock, and there was articles coming out in Newsweek and Time and New York Times. And this was coming 1 month after the Tiananmen Square massacre. The whole world was changing. The Cold War was rapidly coming to an end. Everything was changing around the world. And the only thing America seemed interested in doing was looking back to this overblown, overrated concert in the mud that's 20 years old. And we thought this was almost obscene. We launched this campaign called Boycott the Past Week, and the idea behind that was we wanted people to give up the past for 1 week. We wanted them to not listen to oldies radio, not watch the Wonder Years, not listen to their Beatles records. Put the 60s and 70s, the whole past away, and just concentrate on living in the present. I always say, let's go with the future and the present, because the past is over. Can't go back again. Here we are, Melrose Avenue, heart of Los Angeles. Melrose Avenue, where the past meets the future, with a resounding collision. Coming up on Johnny Rockets here on the right. Diner that's more 50s than the 50s ever were. I understand they don't take credit cards there because it's not 50s enough. Any given night you'll see maybe a dozen or so James Dean wannabes straddling their vintage Harleys, hoping to be noticed. There's an awful lot of people who are roughly my age who've grown up witnessing 60s nostalgia and 50s nostalgia, and unfortunately I think they want a nostalgia of their own, and they're mining the 70s now. And it just twists the nature of time itself almost. They'll surround themselves with posters and videotapes and things of the era. And, if you ask them who's vice president or something, they probably couldn't tell you. And there's a lot of that out here. We believe all decades are created equal is one of the tenets of National Association for the Advancement of Time's philosophy. We don't think that any one time is better than the other. The only exception is that the present is the best time of all because that's the only one you can live in. And in the place where you live, how things think about direction, wonder why you have it now. There's a lot of exciting changes happening in the world right now. There's a lot of exciting potential and possibilities for young people in this country and around the world. And people should recognize that the answers to society's problems are the answers to your own individual problems. Do not lie in the past. They lie in the present and the future. The lot of people look upon the Live Aid thing as a common experience for this generation. And the baby boom kind of looked down upon it, saying, well, this is no Woodstock. And we kind of said, well, of course it's not. It's something much different. How much money did Woodstock raise for starving people? And that was the beginning of a new period, I think, for this generation. That was something that we all shared in and enjoyed it. And I think that the direction that we're going to take as a generation is a global one. It's not going to be protesting in our streets. It's going to be outreaching to the rest of the world. And that is activism for people my age.
States, each generation tends to celebrate its own well-documented past. But for two young Colombian immigrants, the traditional culture of their parents and their native land still looms large, even as they attempt to fashion lives of their own on the growing international youth scene of Miami.
You know, people associate Miami and Miami Beach with, it's like a haven for like old people.
It was all filled with old people, row after row. All there was decaying buildings filled with decaying people, and now every single thing has changed.
Of course it changed an awful lot, because it used to be old people, now it's youngsters, so I feel a little younger.
I think the heavy Latin influx had a great effect, and it's given this city a vibrant Latin beat.
You get influenced by Central American, by South American, by the Caribbean. A Cuban influence is beautiful. You don't find this in many places, and it's very pure here.
The ones that are 100% American, that were born here, are different, totally Americanized. And we are the most conservative ones, because we were the ones that came latest.
For Miami and all the cultures in Miami. Cheers.
My name is Ana Maria Restrepo, a very typical last name from my country, Colombia.
My name is Margarita Restrepo. I'm from Colombia. I've been here in Miami for almost 5 years.
We had always thought of United States as the ideal place to live. You have no limitation at all as far as whatever you want to do. You can accomplish it if you work hard for it. I think that out of all the values that we have, the one that stays with us is the family values, because we keep on living our family life in the same way we used to have it. My dad died in a plane accident in 1985 when I was going to turn 20, I believe. That was probably the roughest period of my entire life, but time helped a lot in the healing process. And after that, we got a lot closer to my mom because she needed us at that moment.
I think my parents were my role models because we spent a lot of time with them. Every day, lunchtime and dinner talk a lot with them. So I guess they were my role models. They still are. This is a painting that my mom made, which represents a typical scene from our countryside, which is a peasant girl. And it really shows our part of our culture.
I'm a graphic designer or a graphic artist. I think my mom's artistic inclinations definitely were the biggest influence on me because we used to spend a lot of time drawing when we were little.
My mom's also a dressmaker, and that really influenced me to choosing my career. That's how I became a fashion designer. She's very happy to see us working in whatever we like. She's very happy.
And being able to exercise our career, that never happened before. They would finish their career, but they would get married right away and then have kids right away. This is my favorite photo from my parents' wedding in 1965. My mom was 23 at the time, actually 2 years younger than I am right now. And it seems like I'm not gonna get married too soon. I don't have that planned yet.
I would raise my kids with, I guess, the same values that were given to me when I was growing up. I would change some things, but not radically. You know, having the same sense of family unit, and which is great. I mean, that helps you a lot when you're growing up, when you have problems, and knowing that you have your parents, having them around and being able to communicate with them.
I think I could be as good mother as my mom has been. I'm sure things are going to change as far as dedicating more or less time with my children. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to spend so much time as she did with us. But I think we won't have problems with that. I don't know.
A very different sort of past lives on to some extent in Eugene, Oregon, where a young man who was raised in a 60s-style hippie commune in radically non-traditional ways ponders his own particular place in the 1990s.
When I come to major decisions in my life, lots of times I try to put myself in my father's shoes. He was like a hero to me, everything he did, and tried to start a new life up here. This is the road leading up to Cougar Mountain. We're leaving everybody behind. Everybody that went up there for a reason. They were all the same kind of people. They were part of the movement. They were the radicals. They were the hippies. They had the long hair. They were the peace-loving people, and here was this mountain that they could live on and be away from everything else. This is the Cougar Mountain that I grew up on. It was basically almost, a commune, and everything was shared. The whole living space was shared. Meals were shared. Food from the garden was shared. Work was shared. And although we don't live up here anymore, we come up here just about every week. All the memories can't be erased. And so we try and keep it alive. Growing up in the commune, we all were very close. We all lived together for a number of years and became a very close-knit family.
One love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right.
I was 15 when my father died, but I still feel that, when I see the people that I used to live with, I feel that they are part of my family, and that gives me a real sense of belonging.
Pretty nice.
And I have a lot of the same values and beliefs as they do. They were for peace. They were against large companies ruling the marketplace, and we can't be wasteful. We can't be destructive the way we are. The whole world is slowly deteriorating, and we're flushing things down the drain left and right. And there's a lot of people from the counterculture that say, hey, that's completely wrong. We can't be wasteful like this. And I have all those values and beliefs.
Well, back down.
Well, this that we're looking at over here is called a clear cut. This is when the large timber companies go in to an area, to a forest, and they basically wipe everything clean. And that's one of the main things that I hope our generation can change, is the forestry practices that are in effect right now. And this clear cutting practice is one of the ones that needs to go. They can go in there and do selective logging and take the trees, take some of the trees and leave some of the other trees. And sure, it'll take a little bit longer and they won't make quite as much money, but then we'll still have a forest. These are my parents, and in some ways I have a few that are a little bit different just because of the way I saw my upbringing. People around me when I was growing up, you know, money wasn't a thing that they worried about too much. But I could see from looking from the side that if they did have the money, boy, they could have done some great things. You know, they could have made some serious changes. I think that even though it sucks, money is important. I've read many real estate books about people that go into real estate investing for short term and come out of it with some nice money. And that's where my interest in real estate started, and now I have a job where I do construction and remodeling, and I'm learning that trade, and so that furthers my interest in real estate, because if I can invest into it, you know, I'll have the know-how to fix it up myself. I think that our generation is going to force the generations above us to take a look at us, at what we're doing and what we're trying to do, because we're just simply going to do it with or without them. You know, we are going to stand up and make a change in the world, because I think that we're conscious enough to realize that we have to do that. If we are to succeed, we need to learn how to learn. And that's what my father told me over and over, was you just need to learn how to learn. And if you can do that, then everything else will fall in place.
Politics just does not have the sense that it had many, many years ago, where people looked up to public service and politics. Now they think, oh, Congress is a bunch of crooks wasting our money.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
You might expect the new generation of young Americans to have a somewhat jaundiced view of politics, growing up as they did at the tail end of the Cold War, amid rampant political corruption, various energy crises, and the long cultural hangover of the Vietnam War. Despite the sometimes contradictory evidence of their own eyes, this generation grew up hearing from their president that the United States was basically in great shape.
And here's the greatest American this country's ever seen, right here. This is him, folks. Greatest American this country's ever had, set the country back on track. So thank God for Reagan.
Don't worry, be happy now.
There's one thing that I learned and he epitomized was eternal optimism.
Don't worry.
Ronald Reagan was one of my heroes.
Be happy.
Now, let's have some fun.
Don't worry, be happy.
We had this big party that was the 80s Reagan generation. You know, we got tons of everything you ever wanted. You know, you got tons of money. Things are fine. Let's deny all the problems that are going on. You know, happy days are here. Let's just drink a lot and get real drunk and have a great time. Now, I'm feeling a kind of headache.
It will soon pass, whatever it is.
To find out in more detail how this generation feels, we talked to some young people who are trying to make a difference in Washington, D.C., some determined young environmentalists in Snowmass, Colorado, and in Fort Stewart, Georgia, some veterans of the nation's latest war, Operation Desert Storm.
I could have went to junior college and played football. Could have stayed on the streets, or I could have came in the Army, and the Army was the best choice, you know. I knew there was things in the Army that civilian people or people outside the Army have never done before, so that was another reason to come, you know, for the adventure.
I can't tell you how it feels when you're way out there on your own tracking the bad guys.
I wasn't ever thinking that I was going to go to war myself or anything like that, but I was just wondering how that felt. See if I can get that feeling too, you know, without actually going to a war, and then boom.
You have to stand for something. If you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. Yeah, I have goals and I want to pursue it, and this is the place I think I can do it, and I can do it best. Dino, this is important. I have to run.
We live in a political world. The cities of a lonesome fear. Little by little, you turn in the middle, but you're never sure why you're here.
Close call. My name's Dino Coluccio. I'm 23. I'm from the state of New Hampshire, and I work as a legislative assistant to a senator from New Hampshire, Bob Smith. To a very large degree, I thought this was the best place to try to do the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people.
We live in a political world.
A lot of friends, they see me involved in politics now, and they say, gee, when are you going to run for office? Nice to meet you.
Co-sponsors for you, the Senate Select Committee bill.
Keep up the good work. And I say to them, that I do plan to run for office. It's not a question of if I'm going to run, it's when.
We live in a political world.
In high school, my only ambitions were to race to work at 8 o'clock in the morning with everyone else and make money and drive a BMW. Have some food. I actually didn't really become interested in environmental issues until about 2 years ago when I realized there was a problem and something did need to be done. Here. My name is Kelly Stelzreed. I'm 23 years old. I am the computer technician, basically at the Rocky Mountain Institute.
My name's Drew Jones, and I'm 23. I'm a researcher here at Rocky Mountain Institute. I study water policy, trying to find ways for people to use water more efficiently. In here, we don't have any pesticides or herbicides in order to keep the pests down. Instead, we have live ladybugs.
On the greener side.
The recent huge rise in environmental consciousness is in a large part because we're starting to feel the effects of it. It's not as healthy to be alive anymore. The air isn't as good, the water isn't as good. We have some pretty specific goals with efficiency that have implications that are much larger, hopefully on a global scale.
And I think where the global security idea or the sort of the theme behind it is that we can't feel secure as a nation if we depend on other people or other nations for our resources. All of a sudden, we were sending our sons overseas because of this oil that we can't live without. Because I need to get in my pickup truck and drive down to 7-Eleven to get a pop. I'm putting my kid in a tank.
During the war, I was supporting the troops in the fact that I thought the best way to support them was to get them out of there.
I wanted to let sanctions work.
I never actually ever thought that, I would actually be deployed to Saudi Arabia or anything like that. That was like one of the biggest shockers about it, when I told my mom that I was going.
During Desert Storm, I certainly had a role to play in briefing the senator on what was going on diplomatic efforts, the defense buildup, intelligence matters. And when it came right down to it, actually writing his floor speech about whether or not to use military force to send people my age into combat where they may very well get killed.
Let's discard Saddam Hussein on the garbage heap of history.
We kind of sat back here and watched CNN like every night going, yeah, go.
I do feel like a hero because even though I wasn't actually on the front, I was still part of the team.
I didn't think that the people who fought in the war were as much heroes as more of America's kind of sacrificial lambs.
No, I don't think that's the case. These people were willing to stand behind what the policymakers of this country decided was the best course of action for this country.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of heroes when they came home. I think a lot of them got out of hand when they came home because it was like, well, I was in Saudi Arabia, so kiss my feet. I don't think so.
It really did make us feel good about ourselves that we can go and pretty easily kill over 100,000 people from another country, no problem. I think that makes a lot of us feel really good because we're disempowered in other parts of our life. In one way, man, we're number one. We kick some serious ass.
We perhaps may have gone a bit too far, for instance, with the victory parade we had and the massive display of military hardware. All that wasn't necessary, but it made us feel good.
You gotta fight for your right.
We're not only congratulating our troops for this war, but we're trying to make up for Vietnam.
It is our commitment
to the New World Order.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Bush's idea of New World Order is essentially, when you boil it down, a system by which we, America, control the world.
The New World Order, to me, personally means that it's okay to be proud to be an American. It's okay to be patriotic. But I think it's also okay to be proud to be like a citizen of the world.
I think the New World Order is the same old. I don't think anything's going to change.
Gonna make a change for once in my life.
As far as I can see, I think things are going to get better. You know, I see a better and brighter future.
Gonna make it right.
This is the opportune time to start helping the U.S. itself. We don't have to worry about Russia anymore. I think this is the time to really devote ourselves to our country and to take a look at health care and take a look at welfare and revamp that and drug issues and do something about it.
If we're really going to address a lot of these issues, we're going to have to go a step deeper and really try to ask, well, how did this happen in the first place? You know, who did this? And how can we make sure it doesn't happen again?
If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make a change.
We're here. We're already here. And there are more of us coming. They're right behind me. I know lots of people who want jobs up here. And it won't be that long before it is our generation running this country.
If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make that change. Starting with the man in the mirror.
I think my generation's contribution to the future will be that we educated our children. We created a livable planet and gave birth to a generation that can keep it that way.
Who brought the spring water? It wasn't satisfying. Matrimony was a sacrament that she was eyeing, like so many others before her. In the end, she depends on a man to support